Welcome to Feminine Vibes, where every change tells a story. I swear I only blinked for a second, but when my eyes opened, she was standing over me, whispering, "Don't fight it, you already belong to me." And the terrifying part? My body listened before my mind did. That moment still echoes inside me, like a memory stitched into my skin, sharp, unreal, and warm all at once. I keep replaying the way her fingers hovered near my cheek, not touching, just guiding, like she already knew the shape of who I would become long before I did. But let me go back, before the whisper, before the trance, before the night everything softened and cracked. I wasn't someone who believed in hypnosis. Honestly, I used to laugh at it. I thought only desperate people fell for that stuff. I thought I was too stable, too grounded, too me to ever lose control. Except I wasn't stable at all. That week had already broken me in ways I didn't talk about. Deadlines slipping, fights at home, the kind of loneliness that sits on your shoulders in silence. I remember staring at my reflection in the bathroom mirror earlier that day, wondering why my own eyes felt foreign. Like they were waiting for something, or someone, to take over. And then she arrived. Myra. A girl with a voice soft enough to hush storms and eyes sharp enough to see through every lie I used to hide behind. She said she studied psychology. Said she could help me unwind. Said she had a hobby that involved hypnosis, but only the gentle kind. I should have walked away the second she smiled. Not because she looked dangerous, no, because she looked like she already knew I wouldn't. When she invited me to her studio apartment, I thought we were going to talk. Maybe listen to music. Maybe distract my mind from the chaos. I didn't know she had other plans. I didn't know she saw something in me, a crack, a softness, a question I never dared ask myself. And I definitely didn't know that by the end of the night, she would start turning me into something I never expected. Something delicate. Something beautiful. Something she called her doll. I remember the moment I stepped inside her apartment, how strangely warm it felt, how the lights were dimmed just low enough to blur the edges of everything. There was this faint scent in the air, something soft, like lavender mixed with vanilla. It wrapped around me before she even said a word. "Sit," Myra whispered, but it didn't feel like a command. It felt like permission to stop pretending I wasn't exhausted. I Saturday. She moved slowly, almost deliberately, like every gesture was designed to pull another layer off my defenses. "You look tired," she said, kneeling in front of me. Her knees touched mine, grounding me, trapping me. "You've been holding too much alone." I swallowed hard because she wasn't wrong. "How do you know?" I asked. She smiled, that smile, the one that made me feel seen and exposed. "Because I used to be like you. Until someone helped me breathe again." Her words settled into me, heavy and comforting at the same time. I didn't realize how tightly my fingers were gripping each other until she gently took my hands and placed them on my lap. "Relax," she murmured. "Just let the noise quiet down." And for a moment, it did. She dimmed the lights even further, leaving only the warm gold glow of a small lamp behind me. Shadows danced across her face, softening her eyes, blurring the lines between reality and whatever this was becoming. "You said you don't believe in hypnosis," she continued, sitting beside me now, her shoulder brushing mine lightly. "But disbelief is just another kind of fear." I turned toward her slowly. "Fear of what?" She leaned in close enough that I felt every word on my skin. "Fear of who you might be, when you finally stop pretending." My breath caught in my throat. I didn't know why it hit so hard. Maybe because parts of me were pretending, parts one pushed down so deep they barely had names. She took a tiny pendant from her pocket, a small glass orb filled with shimmering droplets that seemed to move on their own. She let it dangle between us. "This isn't magic," she whispered. "It's focus. It's honesty. Just watch it sway, and breathe." I should have said no. I should have stood up. I should have walked out. But instead, my eyes followed the gentle swing of the pendant. Left. Right. Left. Right. Time thickened. The air pressed closer. My hands tingled. My thoughts slowed, falling into a soft, warm blur. And Myra's voice slipped through the cracks like silk. "That's it, let go. Let yourself be seen." And for the first time, I did. The pendant swayed like it had a heartbeat of its own, steady, patient, hypnotic. Every time it moved left, something inside me softened. Every time it moved right, something inside me loosened. I wasn't falling asleep. I was falling inward, into a place I'd never dared look. Myra's voice followed me there. "You're safe," she murmured. "You don't have to hold yourself so tightly." Her words weren't commands, they were invitations. My shoulders sank. My breathing slowed. My thoughts melted into warm shapes I barely recognized. "Good," she whispered. "Now, tell me something honest." I tried to speak, but my throat felt thick. The truth had weight I didn't know how to carry. My lips parted anyway, as if her voice had unlocked them. "I'm tired of myself," I breathed out. A silence followed, soft, understanding silence. Then her fingers brushed my jaw, tilting my face toward hers. "You don't have to stay the version of you that hurts," she said gently. "You can try on something softer, something truer." Her hand slipped away, and I felt the absence like a chill. When I blinked, the pendant was gone. Instead, she was standing in front of me, reaching into a small wardrobe against the wall. She wasn't in a rush, she moved like she was unveiling a secret. When she turned around, she held a piece of fabric, light, silky, shimmering under the dim light. A delicate, dusty pink camisole. Something so soft, so fragile, it looked like it could whisper if the wind touched it. I stared at it. My heartbeat stuttered. "No," I said automatically, but the word had no strength behind it. Myra stepped closer. "Just feel it," she said, placing the fabric against my hand. The moment it touched my skin, something electric ran through me. It wasn't shock, more like recognition. A strange familiarity, as if I had brushed against this softness in dreams I never admitted to having. "See," she whispered. "Not scary, just honest." Her fingers lifted mine, guiding them over the fabric's smooth surface. Each stroke made my breath tremble. It was unreal, too sensory, too intimate. The lamp behind me cast a warm glow that made the pink shimmer like it was alive. "You don't have to wear it," she added, her voice dipping lower, "unless you want to know how it feels on you." My chest tightened. Want. A word I had never allowed myself to associate with anything like this. I looked up at her, searching for judgment, but there was none. Only patience. Only gentle curiosity. "Myra," I whispered. "It's okay," she said. "Just try. For yourself." And before I could decide, she slipped the camisole into my hands. It felt impossible. It felt inevitable. And in that moment, a transformation started, quiet but unstoppable. For a long moment, I just sat there with the camisole resting in my palms, light as breath, soft as a secret. My fingers curled around it slowly, almost afraid it might disappear if I held it too tightly. Or worse, afraid it wouldn't. Myra didn't rush me. She didn't speak. She just stood there, close enough that I could hear the way. Her breathing synced with mine, calm and steady, as if she were lending me her courage one inhale at a time. "Stand," she whispered. My knees wobbled as I rose, the room suddenly feeling smaller, warmer. She stepped behind me, and I felt her hands rest gently on my shoulders, not pushing, just anchoring me. "You're shaking," she murmured softly. "I know," I whispered back. "Good. It means you're alive. It means this matters." Her words melted something inside me. I lifted the camisole slowly, letting the thin straps slide between my fingers. The fabric brushed my chest, and I exhaled a breath I didn't know I was holding. It felt unreal, like touching a version of myself I'd always kept locked behind a door I never opened. Myra's fingers grazed the hem. "Raise your arms." I hesitated only for a heartbeat, then lifted them. The world felt silent as she guided the camisole over my head. The soft fabric slid down my shoulders, whispering across my skin, settling against me with a weight too delicate to understand. I gasped, quietly, involuntarily. It didn't feel like I expected. It didn't feel wrong. It felt like stepping into warm water after being cold for years. Like something inside me straightened, aligned, exhaled. Myra stepped around to face me. Her eyes softened when she saw the way I trembled, not with fear, but with something far more fragile. Look, she said gently. She turned me toward the mirror. The reflection hit me harder than any word could. I saw myself, still me, still rough around the edges, still uncertain. But wrapped in softness. Colored in a shade of vulnerability I never allowed. And for a moment, I didn't know whether to breathe, or run. That's you, Myra whispered from behind my shoulder. The you who's always been waiting. I swallowed hard. I don't recognize him. That's because, she said, her voice dropping low, you're not looking for him anymore. My heartbeat stumbled. My chest felt weightless and heavy at the same time. The camisole hugged me gently, shaping warmth around a version of myself I didn't know existed. Tell me, she whispered, her lips close enough that I felt the sound, not just heard it. How does it feel? I didn't answer right away. I couldn't. The truth was too big, too raw, too close. Finally, I breathed out. It feels like I'm finally hearing myself. Myra smiled at my reflection. And that smile told me. This was only the beginning. I kept staring at the reflection, unable to look away. The camisole clung to me with this strange softness, like it wasn't just fabric but a quiet voice asking me questions I'd ignored my whole life. My fingers brushed the hem, tracing the delicate lace. Each touch sent a faint shiver up my arms. I shouldn't like this, I whispered. But you do, Myra said from behind me, her voice warm and impossibly steady. I didn't nod. I didn't speak. But she knew. She stepped closer. I felt her presence before I felt her touch, this gentle gravity pulling me inward, deeper. Her hands came up to lightly adjust the straps on my shoulders, her fingertips dancing against my skin like she was sculpting something fragile. When she spoke again, her voice softened in a way that made the room feel smaller. You're allowed to feel beautiful. Even if you've never said it out loud. Beautiful. The word punched something loose inside me. I watched my reflection again, the uncertain eyes, the trembling breath, the way the pink fabric softened every angle. I looked like someone caught between two worlds, and for the first time, I wasn't sure which one I wanted to return to. Myra reached into the drawer beside the mirror and took out a small brush, thin, elegant, something I'd only seen in makeup tutorials I pretended I never watched. No, Myra, my voice cracked. I'm not ready for that. She tilted her head, studying my reflection, not my fear. I'm not putting anything on you. I just want you to feel the moment. She lifted the brush slowly, letting the bristles graze the inside of my wrist. I shivered. Somehow, that tiny, delicate touch felt louder than any sound in the room. See, she whispered. Soft. Harmless. Honest. Her voice wrapped around me, loosening another knot I didn't know existed. She placed the brush down and gently lifted my chin with her fingertips. I met my own gaze in the mirror again, and something had shifted. Not fully, not clearly, but undeniably. You don't have to change, Myra murmured. Just allow yourself to breathe differently. The way she said it made my chest ache. Like I'd been holding my breath my entire life. Like she could see the version of me I kept locked in the dark. My throat tightened as a quiet confession slipped out before I could stop it. I don't know who I'm becoming. Her hand slid comfortingly down my arm. Someone honest. Someone softer. Someone who doesn't have to pretend. I swallowed hard. My reflection blurred for a moment, not from tears, just from the overwhelming weight of finally being seen. And then Myra whispered the words that would stay with me long after that night. You're not losing yourself. You're meeting yourself. The room felt warmer. The mirror felt gentler. And for the first time, I wasn't afraid of the person staring back. Myra didn't rush. She never did. She moved with the calm patience of someone who had all the time in the world, and somehow, it made me feel like I had time too. Time to unravel. Time to understand. Time to stop pretending I didn't feel a flutter every time her fingers brushed my skin. She walked around me slowly, almost circling me, as if memorizing the outline of who I was before she guided me into who I might become. The soft glow of the lamp framed her silhouette, giving her this quiet authority, gentle but unshakable. You're still holding tension here, she said, placing her hand lightly on my chest. I inhaled sharply. Not because of the touch, but because she was right. There was something locked inside me, fear, maybe. Or the remnants of who I thought I was supposed to be. Close your eyes, she whispered. I did. Her fingertips traced the fabric near my collarbone, slow, deliberate. Every movement sent warmth through me, dissolving whatever walls I still had left. I didn't feel humiliated. I didn't feel mocked. For the first time, I felt allowed. My throat tightened as a quiet confession slipped out before I could stop it. I don't know who I'm becoming. Her hand slid comfortingly down my arm. Someone honest. Someone softer. Someone who doesn't have to pretend. I swallowed hard. My reflection blurred for a moment, not from tears, just from the overwhelming weight of finally being seen. And then Myra whispered the words that would stay with me long after that night. You're not losing yourself. You're meeting yourself. The room felt warmer. The mirror felt gentler. And for the first time, I wasn't afraid of the person staring back. Myra didn't rush. She never did. She moved with the calm patience of someone who had all the time in the world, and somehow, it made me feel like I had time too. Time to unravel. Time to understand. Time to stop pretending I didn't feel a flutter every time her fingers brushed my skin. She walked around me slowly, almost circling me, as if memorizing the outline of who I was before she guided me into who I might become. The soft glow of the lamp framed her silhouette, giving her this quiet authority, gentle but unshakable. You're still holding tension here, she said, placing her hand lightly on my chest. I inhaled sharply. Not because of the touch, but because she was right. There was something locked inside me, fear, maybe. Or the remnants of who I thought I was supposed to be. Close your eyes, she whispered. I did. Her fingertips traced the fabric near my collarbone, slow, deliberate. Every movement sent warmth through me, dissolving whatever walls I still had left. I didn't feel humiliated. I didn't feel mocked. For the first time, I felt allowed to soften. Allowed to explore. Allowed to be. You don't have to fight yourself, she murmured, not here. Her hand slipped away, leaving a ghost of warmth behind. When I opened my eyes, she was holding something new, something folded, delicate, and impossibly gentle-looking. A skirt. Soft cream-colored, flowing like captured breeze. My breath caught. Myra, that's too much, she asked. I didn't answer. My heart did, though, pounding against my ribs like it was trying to confess something I wasn't ready to say. She stepped closer, her voice softer than silk. You don't have to wear it. Just touch it. She held it out. My fingers hovered, trembling, before brushing the fabric. And the moment I felt it, the world fell silent. It was weightless, so smooth it didn't feel real. My thumb traced the hem, feeling the way it rippled like water under my touch. Something deep inside me reacted, something I thought I buried years ago, something wordless, fragile, and strangely familiar. You feel it, don't you? Myra whispered. I nodded, barely. I didn't trust my voice. She unfolded the skirt slowly, letting it drape across her arms. It swayed with the slightest movement, like it was breathing. You don't have to commit, she said softly. Just let me show you. Her hands slid around my waist, not fastening anything, just measuring, imagining. I closed my eyes again without meaning to, the idea of the skirt resting around me sending a shiver so deep I felt it in my spine. Myra, I breathed, voice breaking. Yes, she asked, her lips almost brushing my ear. I'm scared. She smiled, not because she was amused, but because she understood. Good, she whispered. Transformation always starts with fear. She let the skirt settle lightly against my hips, not fully on, just enough to feel its weight, its promise. And in that moment, I realized something terrifying. I wanted it. Not because she wanted it, but because some quiet, forgotten part of me finally felt heard. The skirt rested against my hips so lightly it felt like a question, one I had avoided my whole life. Myra didn't force anything, she just held the fabric there, letting me feel its weight, its promise, the quiet truth humming beneath it. You're breathing fast, she whispered. I didn't even try to deny it. My chest rose and fell too quickly, my pulse thudding like footsteps in an empty hallway. You can stop anytime, she added. But we both knew I wouldn't. Her fingers gently lifted the hem, guiding it around me with the same careful touch someone uses when handling a delicate memory. I felt the fabric cascade down, brushing my thighs with a warmth so soft it made my legs tremble. Lift your feet, she asked softly. My body obeyed before my mind caught up. One foot. Then the other. The skirt slid into place. It wasn't tight. It wasn't restrictive. It didn't trap me. If anything, it felt like the opposite, like something inside me exhaled after years of hiding. The material kissed my skin with every tiny movement, light and flowing, almost too gentle to be real. Myra stepped back, her eyes searching my face. Look in the mirror, she said. My throat tightened. I turned slowly. The reflection was unsettling. Soft. Wrong. Right. A contradiction wrapped in cream-colored fabric. I stared at myself, really stared. The camisole, the skirt, the trembling posture, the widened eyes. The person in the mirror looked like me, but also like someone else entirely. Someone I'd always caught glimpses of in moments I pretended didn't matter. Someone who wasn't trying to be anything. Someone who just was. Say something, Myra murmured behind me. I don't know what to say, I whispered. Then tell me what you feel. The words shook loose before I could stop them. Like, for the first time. I'm not pretending. She stepped close enough that I felt her warmth against my back. Her hands rested on my shoulders, not controlling, just grounding. You're not becoming something new, she said softly. You're letting go of what never belonged to you. My eyes stung. Not with shame, something deeper. A release I didn't understand. The skirt swayed slightly as I shifted. I watched the movement in the mirror, mesmerized by how natural it looked, how gentle, how strangely right. I shouldn't like this, I said again, but it came out quieter this time, almost like I was trying to convince myself. Myra's chin rested lightly on my shoulder. But you do. I closed my eyes. I didn't fight her words. I didn't run from them. I let them sink into me like the soft fabric already had. When I opened my eyes again, the mirror didn't scare me. It called to me. And that terrified me more than anything else. Because the part of me that wanted to stay like this was getting louder. I stood there in front of the mirror, wrapped in softness I never thought my body would know. The skirt brushed my legs with every tiny breath, every nervous shift of weight, and it was like each touch echoed somewhere deeper, somewhere I never dared to look. Myra stayed close behind me, not touching, but near enough that I felt the warmth of her presence like a second skin. You're quieter now, she whispered. I'm overwhelmed, I admitted. It feels like I'm doing something I can't take back. Her reflection stepped into mine, her eyes meeting mine through the glass. Why would you want to take it back? Because what if this wasn't me? What if this was something I couldn't explain? What if someone found out? What if I couldn't undo what I felt? But none of that came out. Instead, my voice cracked into something softer. I don't know who I am right now. Myra lifted a hand and traced her fingertip along the mirror right beside my cheek, not touching me, but drawing attention to the person staring back. You're seeing yourself without the armor, she said gently. That's all. Her eyes moved with intention, observing me the way an artist studies unfinished lines. Slowly, she stepped around me, reaching for something on the vanity table. When she turned back, she held a small compact. A simple makeup powder. Just that. But my pulse jumped anyway. Myra, I breathed. I don't think. She placed a finger lightly against my lips. It's not about being someone new, she murmured. It's about acknowledging the version of you that's been whispering under the noise. Her thumb brushed a loose hair from my forehead, and something in me melted. The room felt too warm, too quiet, too intimate. She opened the compact, tapping the puff lightly. I won't change your face, she said softly. Just soften the truth you already feel. I froze as her hand lifted. Not out of fear. Out of surrender. Her fingers steadied my chin, and she dusted the faintest layer across my cheek. It was delicate, barely there, but it felt like stepping into warm light. A touch that wasn't meant to hide me, only reveal me differently. My breath trembled. She noticed. Look, Myra whispered. I did. The difference was tiny, almost invisible, but I saw it. The softness. The quiet. The vulnerability now resting on my skin. And I saw something else in her reflection too. The way she looked at me. Not like a project. Not like a game. But like someone who saw the truth unraveling inside me. Long before I dared admit it. My voice barely formed the words. Why are you doing this for me? Myra didn't answer immediately. She stepped closer, lifting my chin again with both hands, her eyes sinking deep into mine until the air between us felt charged. Because, she whispered, I want you to meet the person I see. Not the mask you've been hiding behind. The skirt swayed gently. The camisole hugged me. Her breath warmed my skin. And for the first time, I felt something dangerous. A pull toward who I was becoming. Myra's hands were still holding my face when the silence between us grew thick, too thick. The kind of silence that feels like a truth about to break open. Her thumbs rested gently near my jaw, steadying me even though my heart was racing like it was trying to escape my ribs. I swallowed. Myra, why do you care so much? She didn't answer at first. Instead, she stepped behind me again, her presence settling over my shoulders like a warm blanket. Her fingers brushed the waistband of the skirt, not lifting, not adjusting, just touching lightly enough to send a quiet tremor through my whole body. Do you know, she whispered, how long I've watched you struggle to breathe? My breath caught. What does that mean? She moved closer, close enough that her chin nearly rested on my shoulder, her voice vibrating through me. Every time you looked away from yourself. Every time you hid. Every time you joked to cover the ache in your eyes. You think no one noticed? A knot tightened in my chest, sharp and sudden. How long had she seen me like that? How long had I been so transparent? Myra lifted a lock of my hair delicately, letting it fall between her fingers. I noticed, she continued softly. Because I used to be the same. That stunned me. I turned my head, meeting her eyes in the mirror. She didn't flinch. She didn't look away. She held my gaze with the quiet confidence of someone who already lived through the storm I was only now stepping into. You. I whispered. You were like me. She nodded slowly. Lost. Confused. Pretending to be someone I thought the world needed me to be. Until someone helped me see the version of myself I kept buried. Her voice cracked just slightly, barely noticeable, but I heard it. Felt it. And now, she continued, I'm doing the same for you. The room blurred for a moment, my vision going soft around the edges. Not because of shame. Not because of fear. But because someone finally understood a part of me I never dared show. Why me? The words slipped out before I could stop them. She stepped forward, slipping one hand under my chin again, tilting my head just enough to make me look directly at her reflection. Because, she whispered, you've been trying to disappear for years. And I won't let you. The skirt brushed my legs as I shifted, grounding me in the moment. My throat tightened as if my body knew something before my mind did. I felt the truth rising like a tide, unstoppable. You think I'm disappearing? I managed. Myra shook her head gently. No. I think you're scared of who you are when the noise falls away. Her fingers traced the delicate strap on my shoulder, not with desire. With understanding. You're not becoming a doll, she whispered. You're becoming honest. And that word, honest, hit deeper than any hypnosis ever could. I felt something inside me unlock. Quiet. Soft. Certain. Because a part of me knew she was right. Knew this wasn't a trick. Knew it wasn't a fantasy. Knew it wasn't her control. It was me. Finally stepping out of the shadows I'd been hiding in. I don't know how long I sat there on the edge of his bed, staring at the floor like somehow the carpet would give me answers. My pulse wouldn't calm down. My breathing wouldn't stay steady. Every time I tried to think, the memory of him leaning close, too close, hit me again and made my stomach twist. I didn't even understand what I was feeling anymore. Embarrassment. Fear. Excitement. All of it tangled into something sharp and confusing that I couldn't name. I pressed my palms into my eyes and whispered to myself that it was just acting, just a role, just a moment we exaggerated, nothing more. But my heartbeat didn't listen when I finally stood up. My knees felt weak like I had just sprinted a mile. I walked toward the mirror, maybe hoping seeing myself would snap me out of whatever spell was messing with me. But the reflection hit me harder than anything else so far. I didn't look like a boy pretending to be a maid. I didn't look like a joke or a costume or someone play-acting a role. I looked soft, nervous, real. The kind of girl who'd flinch when a guy leaned in. The kind of girl who'd get her breath caught in her throat when someone looked at her for too long. I touched the collar of the little maid dress, tracing the lace with my fingers, and I hated how natural it felt. Or maybe I hated that I didn't hate it. I spun around when I heard footsteps in the hallway, too alert, too jumpy, but it was only him again, holding 2 glasses of water like nothing was wrong with the world. He looked at me with this casual smile, like we hadn't just had the strangest moment of my entire life. "You okay?" he asked, but the question sounded layered, like he was testing something. "I'm fine," I lied immediately, way too fast. His eyebrow lifted, amused, and I looked away before he read anything on my face. He sat beside me again, not touching, not crowding me, but close enough that I could feel the heat from his shoulder. I froze, pretending I didn't notice, staring at the water glass like it was the most interesting thing in existence. He didn't speak for a moment, then gently said, "You know, you really didn't have to commit this hard. But you did. And it's impressive." I swallowed hard. "It's just acting." "Is it?" he asked softly. No teasing. No smirk. Just a quiet, genuine question that cut deeper than anything else. I didn't answer. I couldn't. The silence stretched, but it didn't feel empty, it felt heavy, like every unsaid thing between us was sitting right there in the room. I thought he'd push, but instead he leaned back slightly and changed the subject, almost mercifully. "Want to rehearse the next scene?" I nodded too quickly. He handed me a small notebook and pointed to the section we needed to run. It was supposed to be light, a scene where the maid character gets flustered because she accidentally breaks something, and the guy comforts her. Easy, right? Except nothing felt easy anymore. My hand trembled slightly as I read the lines, and he noticed. I saw his eyes trace the movement, softening, but he didn't mention it. We started the scene. I held the fake broken cup, letting out the nervous apology the script required, but my voice cracked halfway through. Not much, but enough that I felt it. Enough that he heard it. He stepped toward me exactly like the script told him to, slow, reassuring, gentle. But when he reached out and lifted my chin with his fingers, something in my entire body locked up. Not in fear. In awareness. In something way more complicated. "You don't have to be scared," he said quietly, reading from the script but making it sound nothing like acting. "I'm not angry." My breath caught. I should have stepped back. I should have reset the scene. I should have said something funny to break the tension. Instead, I stood there like the moment belonged to someone else. His hand stayed under my chin, barely touching, but it felt overwhelming. And then, without meaning to, or maybe because I couldn't control it, my eyes flicked to his lips for half a second. A mistake. A big one. Because he saw it. His eyes widened slightly, the softest, most stunned reaction, and his fingers hesitated like he didn't know whether to pull away or hold on. The air changed instantly, tightening, thickening, buzzing with something dangerous and confusing and new. Neither of us breathed. We just stared at each other. The scene had completely disappeared. The script didn't matter anymore. The only thing that existed was that tiny space between us, that stupid little shift in how he looked at me like he wasn't seeing a joke, or a friend, or even a maid in costume, but someone he wasn't supposed to look at that way. My chest felt too small for my heartbeat. Then, as if he suddenly realized what was happening, he let his hand drop instantly and took a quick step back, clearing his throat. "Sorry, I didn't mean we should reset. That was my fault. My bad. Let's redo the line." He was flustered. Actually flustered. Seeing him like that made my stomach flip in a way I didn't want to admit. I nodded, but it came out shaky. "Yeah. Reset." We tried again. And again. And again. But every attempt felt worse than the last because neither of us could get back into the scene without remembering the moment we'd just had. Our timing was off. Our lines stumbled. The energy was completely messed up. Every time he reached out, even slightly, my heart thudded in my ears. Every time I looked at him too long, he glanced away like he didn't trust himself. Finally, he dropped the script onto the bed and ran a hand through his hair, frustrated. "We're not getting anywhere like this." I sat down, letting the skirt settle around my legs again. "Then what do we do?" He looked at me, really looked, and for the first time he didn't try to hide the truth in his eyes. "I don't know," he admitted. "Something feels different now." My throat tightened. "Different how?" I asked softly. He opened his mouth to answer. But he didn't. He just stared at me like the words were stuck somewhere he couldn't reach. And the worst part? I wasn't sure I wanted to hear them. Because I wasn't sure what I'd say back. The room felt smaller, warmer, heavier, like every breath was its own confession. I didn't move. My fingers rested on the hem of the skirt, feeling its soft sway with every tiny shift of my weight. I could hear my own heartbeat, loud and insistent, matching the tension in the room. He was still standing across from me, frozen in that same impossible hesitation, and for a moment, I wondered if the entire world had stopped just to watch us. I can't, he started, then stopped, running a hand down his face. "I shouldn't be thinking like this." "Like what?" I asked softly, my own voice trembling despite myself. He shook his head. "I don't know. Like, seeing you like this. Not just the dress. Not just the costume. You. Like, you, and I can't." He swallowed hard. His eyes flicked away from mine, but only for a second, as if the moment was magnetic, pulling him back whether he wanted to be pulled or not. I wanted to speak, to say something, anything, to break the tension, but my lips wouldn't cooperate. My chest tightened, my stomach flipped. It was too much. Too overwhelming. And yet, I didn't want him to stop looking. "You're scared," he muttered, almost to himself. "I can feel it." I nodded slightly, because it was true. I was scared. Scared of what I was feeling. Scared of how he was looking at me. Scared of the way my own body had betrayed me, reacting to him when I had promised myself nothing like this would ever happen. I started, then faltered, unsure if the words I wanted existed. "Don't try to explain," he said softly. "Just breathe." I did. Tried to. The skirt shifted against my legs, the camisole hugged me, and I felt more exposed than I ever had in my entire life, and somehow, safer too. He took a tentative step closer, and my stomach twisted into knots. Every instinct screamed to move, but my body didn't. It froze, suspended between fear and desire, between shame and curiosity. Then, without warning, he leaned just slightly, not enough to touch me, but close enough that I felt the warmth of his breath brush my cheek. My eyes widened. My breath hitched. My hands gripped the fabric of my skirt tightly. "I shouldn't be," he whispered, cutting himself off again. "Neither should I admitted softly, surprising myself. His eyes met mine, wide, vulnerable, raw. And for the first time, the world outside the room disappeared completely. There was nothing but us. Nothing but the skirt brushing my thighs, the camisole clinging softly, the heat of proximity, and the truth we weren't ready to speak aloud. And in that frozen heartbeat between two words neither of us said, I realized something terrifying. I wanted him. Not the act, not the costume, not the scene. Him. And worse, he wanted me too. Time slowed, or maybe I just noticed it now. Every heartbeat thumped like a drum, every shallow breath felt like it might betray me. He stayed there, barely an inch away, and neither of us moved. The script, the lines, the rehearsals, they all faded into a blur. Nothing mattered except the quiet charge in the air, the way his presence pressed against me without touching, and the way my body refused to argue with what it felt. I could feel my cheeks warming. I could feel the skirt slipping slightly as I shifted, the camisole tightening with each shallow inhale. Every nerve ending in my body seemed to awaken, alert to the smallest movement, the faintest sound, the unspoken words hanging between us. I shouldn't, he murmured again, shaking his head slightly, but the tension in his jaw betrayed him. I shouldn't feel this way. I swallowed. My lips parted, trembling. Neither should I admitted, quieter this time, my voice cracking under the weight of truth. He blinked at me, and I thought I saw a flicker of relief, like I wasn't alone in feeling this impossible, messy, terrifying pull. He exhaled slowly and stepped even closer, this time brushing his fingers against the edge of the skirt lightly, almost by accident, but enough to send sparks shooting through me. See, he whispered, half to himself. You're shaking. I didn't deny it. I didn't try to hide it. I couldn't. The truth had already settled in my chest, heavy and undeniable. You look incredible, he said softly, voice low, intimate, as if the words were meant only for me. The sentence didn't just describe the outfit, it described me. And hearing it like that, from him, made my stomach twist in ways I wasn't prepared for. I faltered, unsure what to say. My mind was blank, and yet every fiber of me wanted to respond, to move, to lean in, to let this moment take control. But fear clawed at the edges of my courage. What were we doing? What was this feeling? He reached out again, fingertips hovering just above my shoulder. You don't have to explain. Just feel. And I did. I felt it all, the fear, the desire, the strange, raw connection. My breath hitched. My knees trembled. My heart was pounding so hard I thought he could hear it. The skirt whispered against my thighs. The camisole hugged me softly. Every touch, every tiny shift, every look between us carried weight I couldn't run from. And then, finally, the line between acting and truth blurred completely. The reflection in the mirror didn't look like a character anymore. It looked like me. And I was scared. And I was ready. Because I wanted this. The air between us thickened, heavy and electric, as if the room itself was holding its breath. My fingers gripped the skirt, feeling the soft fabric press against my skin, and I realized I wasn't just holding the costume anymore, I was holding a version of myself I'd never allowed to exist. Vulnerable, trembling, alive. He was so close now that I could feel the warmth radiating from him, hear the subtle shift of his breathing. Every instinct screamed at me to step back, to break the tension, to pretend it was just acting. But I couldn't. My body wouldn't let me. My mind refused to lie to itself. You're beautiful, he whispered, low enough that only I could hear, not the character in the script, not anyone else. Just me. The words hit me like a lightning strike, leaving me paralyzed and burning all at once. I wanted to deny it. I wanted to tell him he was wrong. But when I looked at myself in the mirror, truly looked, I knew he wasn't. Stop talking, I murmured, almost a command to myself. Just look. His eyes didn't leave mine. His hand hovered near mine, trembling slightly, hesitant. The hesitation made my chest ache. Every second stretched impossibly long. My pulse thundered in my ears, a drumbeat I could not escape. And then, the brush of his fingers against mine, soft, unintentional, yet deliberate enough to send a jolt through my entire body. I gasped, a quiet, involuntary sound that seemed to echo in the room. He froze, and I froze. The moment stretched, taut and fragile. I can't stop noticing, he admitted, voice trembling now, raw and honest. It's you. Just you. And I don't know what to do with it. The words hit me harder than anything else. Not because they were unexpected, but because they were true. Because I felt the same. Because the skirt, the camisole, the reflection in the mirror, all of it had stripped away the walls I'd spent years building. And now I was standing here, exposed, trembling, and wanting him to see all of it. Then don't, I whispered. Just, don't stop. He blinked, hesitation warring with desire. But the next moment, his hand settled lightly over mine, warmth radiating through the tips of our fingers. The spark that leapt between us was terrifying and intoxicating. My knees threatened to give way, but the soft fabric of the skirt grounded me. The camisole held me in its gentle embrace. We didn't move closer, not yet. But we didn't move apart either. And in that silence, filled with all the words we couldn't say, I realized something almost frightening. I had crossed a line I never thought I would. Not with the dress. Not with the costume, but with him. And for the first time, I didn't want to turn back. Because part of me, the part one had hidden under layers of doubt, fear, and shame, was finally awake. And it wanted more. The room felt impossibly still, as if time had slowed just for us. My fingers were still intertwined with his, that brief, electric touch refusing to let go. Every nerve in my body hummed with tension, anticipation, and a strange, exhilarating fear. I could feel the weight of the skirt against my legs, the camisole clinging softly to my skin, and it all felt so intimate, so impossible, so real. I've never felt like this before, he whispered, voice low, barely audible, but it vibrated in my chest like a secret drumbeat. I swallowed, trying to steady my own voice. Me neither, I admitted. It was a truth that startled even me. For years I'd buried these feelings, hidden behind humor, behind pretense, behind the idea that I could never allow myself to feel or be seen. But here, in this room, in this dress, in his presence, it all crashed down, raw and undeniable. He stepped a fraction closer, and my pulse stuttered. The mirror reflected the scene, but it didn't matter anymore. I didn't see the reflection of a character or a costume. I saw me. Soft, trembling, alive. And I saw him, watching me, not with judgment, not with teasing, but with a kind of awe I had never experienced. You're not a joke, he said quietly. You're incredible. My chest tightened. The words struck me with such force I could barely breathe. I don't know how to respond to that, I whispered. Then don't, he replied, voice trembling. Just feel it. Feel us. And I did. I felt the warmth of his hand near mine, the heat of proximity pressing against my skin, the fragile, overwhelming pull of something I had fought my entire life. My knees shook. My stomach twisted. My chest thumped violently. And still, I stayed, because for the first time, I wanted to stay. You're not just a dress, he murmured, moving even closer, enough that our reflections touched in the mirror. You're you. And I can't pretend I don't see it. I closed my eyes, trembling. The skirt swayed softly as I shifted, the camisole clinging gently, and I realized I wasn't just standing there. I was surrendering to the dress, to the reflection, to him, and to the feelings I had spent so long denying. He leaned just slightly, and the air between us seemed to pulse, electric, fragile, impossible. I want to, he began, then paused, catching himself. I opened my eyes, meeting his in the mirror, and whispered, almost instinctively, me too. And in that single, quiet admission, the tension shattered. The fear, the hesitation, the invisible walls, it all crumbled. Our reflections mirrored what we couldn't say in words, and the room was suddenly filled with the weightless, terrifying, undeniable truth. We had crossed the line, together. For the first time, I felt seen. Truly seen. And I realized that this moment, this feeling, this version of me was not a costume. It was real. And I didn't want to go back. The room felt suspended, quiet except for our breathing, soft and unsteady. The skirt swayed lightly against my legs, the camisole hugged me like a secret, and every nerve in my body buzzed with the truth I had finally allowed myself to face. I wasn't pretending. I wasn't acting. I was me, fragile, trembling, alive, and for the first time, someone else saw all of it without judgment. He reached out, brushing a loose strand of hair from my face, and I didn't flinch. I didn't move away. I let him. The warmth of his hand against my cheek felt like permission. Permission to be seen. Permission to be soft. Permission to feel. You're amazing, he whispered, voice low and tender, trembling in the same way my heart did. I don't want this moment to end. I closed my eyes, letting his words sink in. Letting the feeling of being truly seen, truly understood, wash over me. Neither do I murmured. And in that single sentence, the weight of years of hiding, pretending, and fear lifted just enough for me to breathe again. I looked at myself in the mirror one last time. The reflection wasn't just a costume, a dress, a performance, it was me. Soft. Vulnerable. Real. And for the first time, I felt at peace with who I had always been beneath the armor. Myra, he smiled gently, A quiet acknowledgement of the bond that had grown in the space between us. No words were needed. The connection was enough. It hummed between us like a melody only we could hear, fragile yet unbreakable. I took a deep breath, feeling the skirt, the camisole, the warmth of presence, the ache and joy that had twisted together into something unforgettable. Maybe I didn't change at all, I whispered to the mirror, my own reflection nodding back at me. Maybe I just became who I was meant to be. He nodded, and for a moment, time didn't exist. The tension, the fear, the hesitation, they were gone. Only the truth remained, soft, raw, and undeniable. And then, as I stepped back, brushing the fabric lightly with my fingers, I added softly, "Thank you, for seeing me." He smiled. And I knew the world outside could wait. Maybe the transformation wasn't about the dress, the skirt, or even the act. Maybe it was about being brave enough to let someone else see the real me and to see myself, finally, in full. The mirror caught our reflections one last time. The soft light, the fabric, the tremor of everything we had shared, it lingered. And I realized, with a quiet, beating certainty, that this was only the beginning. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more stories that see you, understand you, and stay with you long after the screen goes dark.